Hi guys, I have been busy listening to Christine Brown's new book called Sister Wife, a memoir of faith, family, and finding freedom. I'm about halfway through, and so this is my analysis of the top things that kind of shocked me or that we didn't know in the first half of the book. Overall, it starts with her early life, lots about her lineage in polygamy, her parents' divorce, and her early courtship and marriage with Kody. All right, let's jump right in. Let's start with a bang, shall we? Christine stopped two women from becoming sister wives in their family, technically. One woman was almost there. Kody actually went to ask a leader in their church if he could court this woman, but the leader was Christine's grandfather. Because remember, Christine is polygamy royalty and lots of her family were leaders in their church. And he told Kody that he needed to focus on the wives he already had. This was because Christine's mom, Annie, had spilled the beans to the grandfather that they were poor because Christine would talk to her about that. So that was a concern for that grandfather. And for the next one, Christine herself played a hand in shutting it down. And we had seen hints of this on the show. It was like briefly mentioned, but when a woman started flirting with Kody and even calling him all the time, Christine told the wives to let her know if that woman was calling again because she thought it was ridiculous. And Mary told her, and she literally picked up the phone and interrupted their conversation, yelling and telling the woman that she should have been brown-nosing her. After that, the rest of is history. Obviously, this woman was scared away. And apparently this woman worked in the same town as Kody and they would get rides together. I think we can all agree that those women dodged a bullet anyway. Someone needs to interview them or something. Let's now talk about what I will call thin walls. Christine pulled back the curtain on just how miserable those early years were. We heard about the trailer on the show, it was briefly mentioned, but yes, they lived in a small trailer. It was Kody, Mary, and Janelle and Christine, and the walls were so thin that she could hear everything, and she could never get away from the drama. It sounds like it was sheer hell. And what she heard also included bedroom moments, let's say. She described sitting there devastated, listening to her husband be with someone else, and it sounded like Kody was more into it with them. Yes. And so there is the core of why Christine did not want to live in one big house. The trauma from this. Christine says it shocked her how painful it was to hear that because obviously she knew it was happening. But to have it so close like that affected her. In another house, Christine talked about how Janelle and Christine didn't want to have the room next to Mary because she was difficult. So they both had smaller rooms next to each other and shared their room with their kids too. So they kind of put a bunk bed and a bed, which, by the way, sounds crazy. At this point, they both had multiple children, and Mary had one, but she had the biggest bedroom because she was the, head wife or whatever. Also, how did they make that work with Kody? I just do not understand how the logistics even worked. Kody was also a different person behind the scenes, and Christine goes into this. We're not really shocked by this, but I thought it was interesting. So Christine kind of describes Kody as two completely different people. There was the man she thought was charming, magnetic, and always ready to lead activities with the kids when he was a leader for their youth groups in their church. He was the guy who swept her off her feet, the guy who would light up her room, she says. And Christine said one of the things she loved about him was how he seemed to be an independent thinker. But behind closed doors, Christine says that she started to see a different person, distant, overwhelmed, and actually second-guessing himself a lot and asking for others' opinions. Seems like in the end, he was just way different than the man she thought she was marrying. I mean, they did have a very short courtship. Next, let's talk about how Kody demanded massages. So this one is so uncomfortable, but people kind of talked about this in the spoilers for the book, but Christine reveals that intimacy with Kody often started with her giving him massages, shoulder and then body. That was his preference. I mean, we didn't really want to know that, but apparently we know that. She even admits that if she didn't, nothing happened. And when she finally opened up about feeling kind of neglected and that she had to do all these things, Kody's response to her hurt her. She complained about it, and he told her he wanted to move away from pain and towards pleasure. She interpreted that as, am I pain then? Like, what does that even mean? Instead of hearing her out, he dismissed it. And for Christine, it was just another brick in the wall that made her feel unwanted and invisible in her marriage. Those dang massages, and all I can imagine is Robin learning how to be a masseuse for Kody or something, looking up at videos about it or something. Robin is probably someone who has given millions of massages at this point. All right, and let's talk about the awkward first kiss and wedding night. So Christine's wedding day should have been magical, We know that she didn't like her wedding, but she went a little bit more into detail. She said that, yes, she wore a dress that looked like a sack. And when it came to the first kiss, Kody barely brushed her lips. Like, she barely felt it. No one clapped. And her grandfather actually joked that it was the shortest first kiss he had ever seen. Imagine hearing that in front of your whole family. Her whole wedding, she thought, felt awkward, and she didn't understand why polygamists didn't have this all kind of figured out a bit better. And the wedding night, well, it wasn't good. Let's just say that. And no romance, no anything, It's one of the most vulnerable confessions in the book, and it shows how early Christine's dreams of a happy marriage crumbled. Okay, and now we need to also talk about Mary and Kody's constant fighting in the early years. Christine shares just how toxic Mary and Kody's relationship was even from the start. She says that they were constantly fighting, and she was often in the middle trying to play peacemaker. So she was basically brought in to be a peacemaker and make things better between Mary and Janelle. So Kody and Mary fought constantly. Janelle and Mary hated each other, and Christine was just there trying to live. So Christine admits that she thought polygamy would bring her sisterhood and support, but instead she kind of found herself surrounded by jealousy and conflict. And finally, one thing we didn't know is that there was a 2-week motel trip that was kind of like the highlight for her. So Christine reveals that she went on a 2-week road trip with Kody for his job or something, and they had brought their little girls at this point, Aspen and McKelty, and something major happened on that trip that gave her faith in her marriage. They had stayed at random motels, moving from place to place, and it was during this trip that Kody introduced her as his wife and told Christine he had fallen in love with her. So at first that sounds like the moment she'd probably been waiting for, validation, love, everything she wanted to hear. But in hindsight, Christine describes it as kind of bittersweet because by that time, they were years into their marriage and Christine had been in love with him since the beginning. So did he just love her now? Did he not love her then? She was kind of confused after that and assumed that love was something that was always gradual. And those, I thought, were the best or most shocking things revealed by Christine in the first half of her memoir. But here's the thing, I'm only halfway through. Christine still has so much more to say about her journey, Kody, and I'm sure we'll be able to kind of cross-reference with the show or whatever moving forward. So I'm going to do a part 2 covering the rest of the book. Make sure you like this video, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss that video. All right, guys, bye.